Good afternoon. There is no successful conscious capitalism without good leadership. And good leadership can be found everywhere. There's formal good leadership, people in governments, people in companies, but it can also be informal in nature, people working in civil society or on the community level. Good leadership can come from people who are currently in positions of power, but it can also come from people who used to have formal power positions. And it can come from very famous people and from ordinary people who are not at all well known. Now, if you ask people around the world, tell us an example of a great leader, this is the man that will often be mentioned. Mandela. He was the visionary who believed that his country could be a country without apartheid. And you know all what sacrifices he made. And he achieved it. But he had another smaller vision more recently, and that was to create a group of people called the Elders that bring together 10 former leaders who don't hold official positions of power anymore, but they're still quite influential. And they use the freedom they have now because they don't need to get re-elected and because they can speak their mind to try to make the world a better place. So you recognize people like Kofi Annan, President Carter, Archbishop Tutu, and I have the tremendous privilege to work with them as their CEO. But there are also leaders in business. Richard Branson, a successful entrepreneur, a marketing mogul, but also one of the people who is a true conscious capitalist in supporting the elders, but also other amazing initiatives that are trying to make the world a better place. Not just with money, but also by helping to create networks with his marketing skills, with creating partnerships. Jeff Skoll, the boss of Sally, the man who makes her work possible, he's another of these conscious capitalists who's incredibly successful. Look at this woman. You might not know who she is. Her name is Michelle Bachelet. She was the first female president of Chile. And when she started as a president, she had a really, really rough time. But despite that, she didn't lose sight of her vision, which was to promote social protection and to promote equality of opportunity for all. And you know what her approval rating was when she left office? More than 80%. And that's why it's so great that she's now heading the new UN agency called UN Women. This man is a countryman of mine. He's from the Netherlands. His name is Peter Bakker. Now, he has a link with your country because he's the CEO of a transport company called T&T. And they have a partnership with the World Food Programme, the UN agency that feeds so many people. Now, what they did is not give money to the World Food Programme, but because their expertise is in logistics and in distribution, they help the World Food Programme think through how you can deliver food in a more efficient and effective way to the people who need it. Now, the Kingdom happens to be a major sponsor of the World Food Programme, which is absolutely amazing for everything your country is doing. But because of this man and his vision, it also means that your money is being spent much more effectively and reaching many more hungry people. And I'll give you one more example of a leader. Here you see some of the elders again. Now have a look at the woman completely on the right. She's a 21-year-old Israeli woman, and her name is Gali Agnon. She lives in a village that is divided. And she realized one day that the Palestinians living on the other side of the village are growing delicious organic vegetables. And that the people in Jerusalem really would like to get more organic vegetables. The Palestinians can't go to Jerusalem to sell it. So she started a company called Peace Vegetables Corporation. And she's helping the Palestinians to make money on the vegetables they built. And this was a woman who was 21 years old. Now, what do all these people have in common? I'll very quickly highlight 4 things. First of all, they all have a vision that you can make a real difference. That what might actually seem to be impossible is possible. Who had thought decades ago that we could eradicate polio? Who had thought at the beginning of the 80s that the wall of Berlin would actually come down? But your vision doesn't have to be a big one. I met this woman in South Africa who's 15 years old, who's HIV infected, she has AIDS, because her father raped her when she was a very young child. Now what she's trying to do is in her community take away the stigma that surrounds HIV by talking about it openly. What it just requires is to have a vision of what you want to change. And then if you know what you want to change, the second thing you need to do is to be very pragmatic about it. And you have to accept that there will be setbacks and that you'll have to adjust. The bottom line here is that failure is a part of success. That every story of success has its chapters filled of failures. The third point is that we all can make a difference, but none of us can do it alone. The big challenges that the world is facing require that we all work together. Governments, intergovernmental organizations, companies, media, and civil society. Think of climate change, think of poverty, think of disease. We can't do it alone. And in this context, I want to mention a beautiful Chinese proverb which says that women hold up half the sky. Now yesterday I spent the whole day in the province of Qasim, and I met more than 40 women who are working in the field of business, health, education. I was overly impressed by them. They were smart, they were innovative, dedicated, inspiring. And it has made me realize that this country, the kingdom, has a wealth of women who are ready to be empowered and integrated, so that they can work together with men as equal partners to hold up the beautiful Saudi sky together. And the last thing I think you need as a leader is patience. Making real difference requires time. And the bottom line is that we all always overestimate what we can do in the short term, but we also underestimate what can be achieved in the long term. Graça Machel, who's one of the elders and also the wife of Nelson Mandela, puts it beautifully when she describes leadership as, leadership is having a vision and then empowering and encouraging others to realize that vision. Now, I'm aware that in this room there are many business executives who have led their companies to enormous growth and to great profits. I wish you the vision, the pragmatism, the willingness to build inclusive partnerships, and the patience that is needed to also excel as conscious capitalist leaders. It will not only make the world a better place, but it will also be very fulfilling on a personal level. Thank you.
Thank you, Mabel.